When Cat Stevens changed his name to Yusuf Islam and announced his conversion to the Muslim faith and retirement from music in the late 70s, Bob Dylan reportedly remarked that he had finally stopped trying to be the prophet and begun to follow the prophet. This quote resonates deeply within Islamic traditions, where it's viewed as a blessing, but it also reveals something profound about the music that propelled him to global stardom. In the early 70s, the charts buzzed with sensitive, folky singer-songwriters, artists whose constituencies were defined by the college generation, far from home, grappling with loneliness and the weight of academic expectations. Yet none were as spiritually driven as Cat Stevens, whose album titles referenced Buddha, Zen poetry, and numerology-based song cycles. His lyrics urged listeners to kick out the devil and get to heaven, get a guide. And his 1972 hit, Morning Has Broken, reached #1 in the U.S. If you'd bet on which 70s superstar would abandon their career for religion, the odds would have been far lower for Cat Stevens than for Noddy Holder. Reading his autobiography, it becomes evident that his retreat from pop stardom was less a choice than a necessity. Living above his parents' Shaftesbury Avenue cafe, he grew up as a street-loose child, navigating London's complexities as an ordinary young man. The early chapters are baffling to modern readers. As the city seemed to defy economic realities, ordinary people could afford to live in W1. Equally surprising is Islam's affection for his primary school, a 1950s nun-run Catholic institution, which often became a source of misery. But Islam was captivated by the mysticism of Mass, haunted by the notion that angels might begin tracking your misdeeds at age 8. Critics, however, note a series of missteps in his early career. By 16, he was balancing school with pill-popping mod life. Inspired by Dylan, he became a folkie and began writing songs. He spent less than a year seeking attention before landing a record deal and a hit with his 1966 debut single, I Love My Dog. Its follow-up, Matthew and Son, reached #2 in the UK. A meteoric rise, still only 19 years old, left Islam feeling unfulfilled, with live shows deemed degrading, photos taken as hellish, and interviews likened to being placed in the stocks. Television appearances were even more fraught, with his mohair suit described as a horror. Within months, he calculated how much money he'd need to retire. A near-death experience with tuberculosis and a hospital stay prompted a shift. He abandoned heavily orchestrated pop singles for guitars and soul-searching lyrics. In a remarkably short time, he became more successful than ever, with 1970's Tea for the Tillerman and 1971's Teaser and the Firecat selling nearly 4 million copies worldwide. Their sleeves featured children's book illustrations, reflecting a faux naivete that echoed through each chapter of his autobiography. Yet the lyrical introspection wasn't merely a pose. It was a genuine exploration of self. As the 70s progressed, he explored Buddhism, the Bible, meditation, and the I Ching, all while shopping around for faith. Inspired by a near-death encounter off Malibu, he eventually gave up booze and drugs. Ditched his girlfriends for a man who didn't crave stardom, Islam certainly enjoyed its spoils, and embraced a traditional Muslim marriage. Leaving music behind seemed less of a struggle than expected. His songwriting had reached a cul-de-sac. With royalties to live off, he genuinely seemed happier contributing to charity. Despite his aversion to interviews, he remains an unlikely spokesperson, yet his old celebrity cannot be ignored. The media either baffled or hostile, especially post 9/11, when his high profile landed him on a no-fly list. A real success story in the war on terror, quipped Jon Stewart on a U.S. chat show. Occasionally, he doesn't help himself. Making jokes about the Salman Rushdie fatwa on national TV, he also claims the show's editors were canny. Likely wasn't the smartest move. Still, He insists the ensuing controversy led him to investigate Islamic jurisprudence further, which in turn reignited his passion for music. This sparked comeback albums, tours, Glastonbury, and a return to the name Cat Stevens. He seems content, closing his story with a poem that begins, "When I was a little fetus." Whether you agree or disagree, it reads like one of his most wide-eyed lyrics from his peak. Yusuf Islam has traversed a remarkable journey, yet some truths remain timeless.